Hey, fellas. How we doing? Uh, Ugh. I've got some things to say about this Suns team, about this game. I got a lot of stuff to say. Um, this should be fun. Ah, jeez. Fiddlesticks. Overcooked. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's just begin. Hold on. Okay. All right. What up, Suns fans? Suns lose big time in a blowout loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Suns lose in a big fashion, and final score: Cavaliers 118 to the Phoenix Suns 92. A 26-point blowout. There is a lot to talk about, and we will be right here be right back here in just a second. In just a second.
Kevin Durant delivers. Gorgeous move for Bradley Beal.
Personally, I feel like that brother needed help.
Devin Booker with the clutch three.
I hate to do it for everyone here, but lines need to be drawn. The meltdown counter has been reset as the Suns lose in big fashion to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Oh boy, what a terrible loss. I feel like some table setting needs to be done here just to reiterate how much of a bad game this is. We all know the Suns' main goal and Ishbia's idea behind this team is to have a contending team and basically to be a championship contender this year. That's why we have the big three. That's basically the big influencing idea behind every uh, change that the Phoenix Suns have made in the past 2 years, I believe, around the range. So that's been the main idea driving the Phoenix Suns, most of their decisions in recent times. So this is a big game in a lot of ways. Cleveland Cavaliers are currently they are now 36-6 on the season and have the best record in the NBA. So they are record-wise the best team in the NBA. So, even though they're not in the same conference as us, it's still a big point uh just for this Suns team as let's paint the picture this way for a second. If the Suns win, that would prove themselves as major contending as a contending team because they're able to hang with the big guys and be able to beat some of these better teams. That is not the case for tonight. As the Suns lose to the Cavaliers, not only did they lose in a close margin, they lost to them in a big margin, which is probably even worse. As I literally started, this is a Suns meltdown in every way. This is definitely not what you want, and it's not your typical loss. Um, as this has pretty much big implications on just the whole Suns season. We've made the Nick Richards trade in recent times to get slightly better. But even Nick Richards' new addition wasn't enough to save the Suns team. I know I was hyping it up a lot last time, um, and I knew he was going to probably be in for a rough ride against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And honestly, I wasn't really, I'm not that disappointed as this is kind of a I already suspected the worst for this. Now that we are what 42 games into the season, so I mean you could really see this coming if you watched all the Suns game this season. But it's definitely more harrowing when you see the nail get drove into the coffin. This is a really bad loss in every way. Um, the boys gave their best efforts, but inevitably in the end, they were down 30 at one point in this game to the Cleveland Cavaliers before we waved the white flag. The Suns only led once during this game, and it was early on, and it was a 1 point lead that they held for a couple seconds before just losing the rest of this game. The Suns gave it their best effort. Honestly, I'm surprised it didn't get out of hand a lot more, because Suns held on that first quarter. They tied it. It was a tied game after the first, but pretty much from then on, it was just a downhill march as the Suns constantly got outsmarted and outpaced and beaten in every stat. Um, the Cleveland Cavaliers are quite a big team. They just have a lot of good players on their roster that are able to play this just swarming defense that was able to clamp the likes of Devin Booker, breaking his uh I believe 5 game 30-point streak that he has had in recent times. He ended this game with 15 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block, and ended up committing 6 turnovers. And that brings me into another point. This Cleveland Cavaliers team was so good defensively that they were forcing many turnovers for the Phoenix Suns, as they ended up with 17 turnovers total for the whole night. I mean, some of that is the Cavs defense just being really good, but also some of that is just the Suns being not really well versed with each other and not communicating a lot on a lot of plays. So that ends up to such a big turnover ratio. And the Suns weren't doing enough good job defending for themselves, as they, allowed the Cavs to score almost 30 more points than them. Uh, it is quite sad looking at these stats. I can't do quick maths right now. This is quite an early game in Phoenix standards, so I might be a little slow right now. But the Cavs basically got 18 more shot attempts than the Phoenix Suns, and this is bringing up a constant problem for the Phoenix Suns that I'm just not really seeing the idea behind it all of a sudden anymore, because we've invested so much into getting KD, Bradley Bill to make these tough shots, all this offensive firepower on the Phoenix Suns, but it's not really producing all that much. I mean, the Cavs are able to get so much more attempts from their rebounding, from their hustle, that it doesn't really matter how much they shoot as long as they keep hustling. Their shot is going to eventually fall soon enough. And that puts the Suns in a difficult position because now you're trying to win without rebounds. Like if the Suns these recent games have been always the underdog for rebounds. They've always had the less rebounds, and just going forward, it looks like they're just going to try to live with that as we tried solving as much of the problems we can. But as of right now, we just have to make do with what we can, and the Suns just look like they're just going to give up all those rebounds. I mean, there's only so much yelling or just teaching that you can do to a team uh, to really affect their rebounding skills. Um, there's only so much you can do in that factor. So now the Suns are put in this impossible situation where if you're not constantly rebounding and getting these extra shots, you're playing with less attempts. that basically puts you in a position where you have to be like shooting 60%, 70% every game just to like keep up with the other team and their constant rebounding and extra attempts, turnovers, and all that juice. That's just all it takes to win a Suns game. It's quite impossible. And not only do you have to shoot 70 or like 60%, you have to do that as a whole team across 48 minutes, and you have to have the offense to do that. Obviously, from what we see from the Suns team, they have not reached anywhere that kind of offense to make this a constant, um, consistent easy winning format. This isn't a winning format, is what I'm getting at here, and is the position the Suns find themselves daily. So if you're not shooting the ball well, then that's just basically a guaranteed loss for the Suns. As their rebounding continues to suffer, the Suns lost horribly in the rebound battle tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers had over 50 rebounds. Well, not over, but they had 50 rebounds on the dot compared to the Suns 34. 16 rebounds in the Cavs' favor. Um, yeah, and then you combine that with the turnovers, and uh, the Suns had two more fouls, and you're in for a bad night, and that's basically what happened in today's game. A really bad effort put together by the Suns, and that's the fundamental issue here with the Suns. This isn't a winning format. If literally these guys aren't shooting 70% every game, then what are we doing out there? So that's the fundamental thing wrong with the Suns. Now, the next question is what's next? What do the Suns do next? This game has opened up this game should be a reflective moment for the Phoenix Suns season, as you simply couldn't beat like a contending team. So what are we doing here? If we can't beat any of these contending teams, then why are we even spending all this money to just keep Bradley Bill, KD here on these big contracts and trying to make big star moves? Why keep doing that if it's not even showing success on the court? I'm not usually one to advocate for a blow up of any sort of matter. Um, but it's definitely going into that direction. It's probably not what Matt Ishbia had an idea for this team, and I thank him for his effort, but it's really looking like the Suns are backing themselves into a corner here where we're maybe a couple steps away from having this the time in the sun figuratively come to an end here in Phoenix. Contending having this end here and just probably going into a full rebuild. Um, it's definitely the worst case scenario. Um, but I mean, what else can you do? Uh, unless something is able to come together and the Suns are able to miraculously start playing amazing basketball again, it's looking very, very unlikely that this Suns team is going to be able to succeed. I mean, Matt Ishbia will just continue pouring money into this franchise for a play-in contending team. That just doesn't seem really appealing for us Phoenix Sun or Phoenix fans, Suns fans over the next couple of years. So, um, it all has to come to a point at one end at some point. Um, so I wonder how the Suns are going to treat this. Are we going to continue going into this direction of trying to pretend contend until maybe, I don't know, fake it until you make it type of deal, or yeah, we just go into a full rebuild here? It's it's definitely a tough situation looking forward. Um, Especially when you have teams like the Cavs, OKC, and all their draft capital and young players. So it's a tough position. I'm not gonna lie. It's tough being in this position here as a Suns fan. It's definitely a sad going out, if you want to say it that way. But that is a lot of prediction and projecting into the future of the Phoenix Suns. Uh, I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to turn it around if they do get a convincing good win. We do have a OKC game coming up, and I mean, if you want a little bit of copium, a little bit of hope for this team, I guess you can frame it in a way where the Cavs, we aren't gonna face them in the playoffs. So as long as we could continue doing good against Western teams, then I guess you could you could hope for that way. Like if we get a win against OKC, I'd be okay with that. Like okay, there's something with the Suns team if they're able to beat OKC. Um, but as of right now, this is the first big loss of the season, I would say, against like true contenders. The Cavs are looking every bit like contenders this season, and we haven't had many opportunities to prove ourselves, other than one lone OKC game that we had early in the season. So until then, this is where the Suns situation is. But diving back into the game here, I already mentioned about Devin Booker and his broken 5 game, 30-point streak. He ended the night with 15. KD was tonight's game leading scorer, 23 points out there, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. Just more of the same. Uh, Unfortunately, outside of our duo there is not much else to be talking about. Tyus Jones surprisingly had a good game, 13 points. I mean, good as in recent times. This January has been pretty rough for Tyus Jones. So to see him back with 13 points, sorry, I it's it's a good trend to keep going into that direction, and I hope he finds his shot again, as it's really the only thing we use him for. As he had 4 assists, even when Booker had 5 assists. So Ryan Dunn unfortunately had a really tough game. It was really rough out there for him. He had his moments defensively and hustle, showing his hustle, but it really wasn't any match towards the Cavs, who just seemed like a well-oiled offensive machine out there. Ryan Dunn only posted 4 points, and he had a bunch of tough shots that didn't go in for him. He had a couple open threes. He had a layup. He had a dunk, I believe. All those didn't go in for him. So it's just a tough night for Ryan Dunn. Um, it's just bound to happen, and he joins the rest of the team in having a bad night. So he's not the only one to have a bad night. Nick Richards, last time we talked about him and his big Suns debut, um, did a lot of hyping about that. Is Nick Richards the game changer for the Phoenix Suns? Yeah, I guess not. Okay. What can you do, man? What can you do? Hey Baxter. Listen, man. Sometimes you just got to make claims out there, you know? Um, uh, I asked the question. I dared ask the question if Nick Richards is a game changer for the Phoenix Suns, and well, now a game later, no. Yeah, I got my answer. So he only had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks. He did show some of that hustle, but again, that pales in comparison to the Cavs and Jared Allen being such a dominant force out there tonight. So unfortunate night for Nick Richards. I mean, he's still having some of those problems that I was talking about last time about him just not looking like he's got enough reps with the team, as he just didn't seem to be clicking with most of the plays that the rest of the team are running. Like if Book or KD is passed to him, he's um, a little slow on picking up on the action or the play, I guess you could say. Um, and also, I saw a little thing about like Nick Richards having butterfingers. That comes from Charlotte fans. I mean, that could also play into issue, as it did look like he had a couple of botched plays that he dropped out there. Um, but it's the second game, dude. I don't really blame much of tonight's loss on Nick Richards. I still like the dude. It's just rough nights when everyone else was also having a rough night. Although he did post uh the worst plus minus out of the whole team. A minus 26 every time he went out there. I should also say Nick Richards had 5 fouls out there. Tough break. Tough break, tough break, tough break. Um yeah. Yeah, so I guess Nick Richards isn't gonna fix our Suns situation. And then I'm not gonna have enough time for this, but the bench. Let's just say that this game was so bad, such a bad loss for the Suns, that in the fourth quarter, Mike Budenholzer waved the white flag 7 minutes with 7 minutes still in the game. So there was 7 minutes of just pure trash minutes of Bud unloading the bench and just throwing every guy out there. So I'm gonna just try to skip past all these bench players, as let's be honest, they didn't really do all that much tonight. Royce O'Neal played 22 minutes. He didn't land any shots. He had 6 rebounds though. That's really the most he was able to do. Mason Plumlee played some minutes and is the only one on the team that didn't play trash minutes, and has like a not negative score, and is probably the reason why we played him, because Nick Richards was a minus and Mason Plumlee wasn't. He only played 4 minutes though, and he got 2 points. Um, Other than that, Bradley Bill, welcome back into the lineup. He missed 2 games ever since that Atlanta injury, and I hate that he worsened that injury and made it 2 games. But he's back. He looked solid when he came out, but over the course of the game, he continued to do not much, as he only had 5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, and a minus 25 out there. Grayson Allen also played some major minutes and is basically the last of the major guys off the bench that played. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, whatever. And then Bull, also Iguodaro, Monte Morris, and Damian Lee all got to share some trash minutes. I'll be honest, I didn't watch most of those minutes because I was so tuned out from this game. But it's trash minutes. What do you want me to say about it? Damian Lee got 9 points. That's pretty cool. I'm glad he'll be able to find a shot out there. Damian Lee is definitely, I think, one of the more sadder stories on this team. Just seeing him go from this great rotation player, from what I've heard in past Sun seasons, to now like not seeing that much minutes. And then, obviously the whole thing last season with him missing the whole season from like a meniscus tear. So that's all I really have to say about this game. The Suns fall back to 500. They are now 21-21 on the season, and they fall back into the 11th seed into the elimination, I should say. Yeah, it's looking pretty bad, guys. Um, Suns are back into the elimination category. I would like to correct myself, as if you watched my pregame primer, I did say that this was the last game of the Phoenix Suns road trip. It is not the Phoenix Suns road trip, as there is still one more stop, and that is Brooklyn. And Brooklyn, we will be visiting on Wednesday, January 22nd, against Brooklyn. So that is the next Suns time, Suns game time, and hopefully we're able to end a little more, get a much more happy ending there than we've had tonight. But that is all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps this channel so much. Um, just remember to keep enjoying this content. We've got daily content here, Phoenix Suns content for you on the daily. And take care. Um, yeah. I was gonna say enjoy the loss, but that doesn't really make any sense. So I don't know. Just enjoy your Sunday. It's Sunday, right? I lost all concept of time. Oh, it's Monday. Jeez. Okay, enjoy your Monday and enjoy your. I think it's everyone has a day off. I don't know. Just enjoy your day. All right. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, and we'll see you next time Wednesday. Have a good one, everyone. See you soon.